Joining us now, the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democrat Mark Warner of Virginia. Senator, thank you, as always, for joining us.
Thank you, Katie.
Let's start big picture here. And this idea that the raid in Georgia in 2020 for the 2020 ballots is not entirely about 2020. What are you arguing?
Well, Katie, Donald Trump is obsessed with the fact that he lost Georgia, that he lost the election. This even criminal case brought, or criminal investigation, the FBI head of the Atlanta office has either quit or been fired. The U.S. attorney that filed the indictment didn't come from Georgia, was from Missouri. What in the hell was the head of foreign intelligence doing at a domestic search warrant? This is, I believe, you're right, this is his obsession about 2020, but also forward-looking about trying to mess with our elections in 26 and 28. And I got to acknowledge, a year ago, I wasn't sure they'd go this far. Now I think, no holds barred. I mean, you've got the director of national intelligence way out of her lane. You've got her appearing at a domestic search warrant. You've got her then connecting the president of the United States with the frontline FBI agents on the case. This is wrong on every category. And the remarkable thing here is this is the crowd that is systemically over the last year dismantled the FBI's election security arena. She's dismantled the director of national intelligence's foreign malign influence. Her only focus should be on foreign interference in our elections. And they've cut the cybersecurity agency that used to help with election security by over a third. So I think we got to beware.
It's not just you saying this. The New York Times editorial board has come around to this as well. They're warning against it. What do you believe an effort to, I guess, interfere in 2026 by the Trump administration might look like?
Well, one of the things I'm concerned about is, the president's unconstitutional and wacky comments about taking over and nationalizing some of our state's elections. You go way back to the report that the Intelligence Committee put together about the 2016 interference. One of our conclusions, signed off unanimously by all Republicans, including Marco Rubio, was that one of the strengths of the security of our election is it's not federalized. It's done at the state and local level. So if somebody did hack in, they couldn't do major mischief. Now, and every Republican, when we tried to put in place even basic cybersecurity standards, they were always concerned, don't federalize the elections. Now you got the president of the United States saying we're going to take over 15 and Republicans should run elections. What in the hell is ever going to get my Republican colleagues to find a backbone and say this is unconstitutional, it's against everything they've said they believe in? And then you look at the history of the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, who is in way over her head on all of this, taking down the security measures that were put in place. And I'm worried. I mean, one of the earlier stories was about ICE. One of the things we got to guarantee is we don't have roving ICE patrols showing up at polling stations, not just in the fall, but with primaries and some of the other elections that may take place earlier.
So that gets to what I'm asking about specifically about what they could do, because nationalizing elections, he can say it, but he would need Congress to get involved with that. And I don't know if that's possible even in this Congress as it's currently made up. Mail-in ballots, same thing. A lot of the stuff that he's declaring is not just so easy for him to do alone. He would need real help. So you're talking about potentially roving ICE patrols, I guess, near ballot, near polling centers, which could potentially scare people. What else in the process of voting or the process of counting are you nervous about? Are you scared about?
Well, I would be terrified if, with this crowd, where if these ballots were somehow accumulated and counted on a national basis, and it was particularly states that had Democratic majorities. And when you say it would take Congress to do this, well, it would also take Congress to remodel the White House, to change the name of the Kennedy Center, to actually have these ICE patrols in Minneapolis terrorizing people. The truth is, Katie, unless we got a lot more Americans standing up, and unless we can have some Republicans who I know privately express dismayed. But if they're not willing to go public and say, this isn't the way we run our system in America, then I don't know if the Department of Justice or ICE, or should he use the Insurrection Act to try to bring troops into our cities? A year ago at this time, when people speculated, I thought they were, frankly, going too far. A year later, I am nervous as well.
Let me ask you about Tulsi Gabbard specifically. We teased a moment ago that she made a move down there with the FBI in Atlanta that is potentially a very big deal and could be used against her. She called the president of the United States, and she got him on the phone while she was with FBI agents. Donald Trump talked to the FBI agents, told them they were doing a good job, and then started asking them questions. Here's what Tulsi Gabbard said to you and to Jim Himes about her presence there. She said, "My presence was requested by the president and executed under my broad statutory authority to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to election security, including counterintelligence, foreign and other malign influence, and cybersecurity." Is she, through this, alleging that there was foreign interference in Georgia in 2020, and that's why Donald Trump lost? Could they have gotten a warrant regarding foreign interference into Georgia's election from 2020?
Well, remember, the Director of National Security has no domestic law enforcement responsibilities. The whole notion of the national security laws that were put in place after the Watergate break-in was to keep foreign and our spy agencies looking foreign, not at our country. If she alleges now, after the fact, and there's been some wacky theories on the internet of Italian spy satellites breaking into voting rolls that have been totally debunked, but if she says there's some claim of foreign interference, if she has not reported that to the oversight committees, the intelligence committees, she has violated her responsibility as Director of National Intelligence. I think this is a scam. I think this is a person who's trying desperately to get back in the good graces of Donald Trump with his obsession. She's not been involved in anything around Venezuela, Iran, NATO, Greenland. And it is irresponsible. And any rational president of the United States or anybody that had a legal advisor in the White House would say, Mr. President, you're not supposed to be talking to agents on the ground doing a domestic investigation. Dismiss the fact that Gabbard shouldn't have been there and the FBI did not know she was going to be there. We have that validated. But then her getting FBI agents, how is she to command them anyway to call the president? The fact that the president took that call shows that somebody in the White House doesn't know the basic tenets of the Constitution or what the role of the president is in a domestic criminal investigation. It's wacky. Yeah, it's beyond wacky.
It was the New York Times that first reported that she called the president. The president then asked questions of those agents. Senator Mark Warner, always good to have you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Katie.